Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to our Lunch and Learn this Friday. We're going to be hearing from Junia Papas. And before we get started, I wanted to give a land acknowledgement. My name is Sarah Waits. I work with the Archdiocese of New Orleans, and this is land of the Choctaw and other indigenous tribes. I'm going to give a short biography of our presenter. So Junia Papas is the archives director. She's a certified archivist and a copyright officer. She's worked in the government, in academic and religious archives. She is currently the provincial archivist for the Capuchins, and she is responsible for the development of records management program for a province that includes the 4 states of Wisconsin, Illinois, Montana, and Michigan. She manages the selection, processing, and preservation of religious artifacts, audiovisual media, textiles, and paper-based archival materials for those locations, as well as a 524 square foot reference room housing 2,000 books in Detroit, Michigan. She has directed the construction of a 1,064 square foot archival vault, which can house 1,428 linear feet of archival materials. She also has developed policies while managing the archival budget and staff. She fulfills over 100 archival reference requests per year, and she creates museum exhibits for the Solanus Casey Center. We are going to be hearing from Junia, and then at the end, if you guys have any questions, we ask that you put them in the Q&A feature. We will not be reading anything out of the chat box. Okay, Junia, are you ready?
Share my screen. Hello and welcome to the Capuchin Province of St. Joseph Archives. I am Junia Papas, the Certified Provincial Archivist for the Capuchins. We are located on the contemporary and ancestral homelands of the Potawatomi indigenous people in what is now known as Detroit. I am the director of our archival holdings for our province, which includes the 4 states of Wisconsin, Illinois, Montana, and Michigan. I primarily work on my own with 2 part-time assistants. At the beginning of this, I would like to say, please don't feel discouraged if your archive cannot afford everything that we will be outlining here in this presentation. You can prioritize what would be suitable for your archive and work from there. The Calvary Province of St. Joseph has over 165 years of history that we preserve here. The Order of Friars Minor Capuchin is a religious order of the Franciscan friars in the Catholic Church that follow the tenets of St. Francis of Assisi. The Capuchin community was established in the United States by founders Francis Haas and Bonaventure Fry in 1856. In 1857, they built their first monastery in Mount Calvary, Wisconsin. Further expansion into ministries such as hospices and schools enabled the community to officially be decreed a province on August 7th, 1882, by Bernardino del Vago, the Minister Generalis of the Order of Friars Minor in Rome. In 1883, Bonaventure Fry purchased land from John Robinson's heirs for $5,500 to build St. Bonaventure Monastery here in Detroit. It was at this time that the headquarters for the province moved from Mount Calvary to Detroit, and therefore the archives moved as well. Since then, we have purchased more property in Detroit for our ministries. The Capuchin Repository houses 137 collections of archival materials from our 4 states in our province, as well as many other states and foreign locations where our friars have served. We house records and artifacts for our ministries dating back to 1870 in this archival vault. When a visitor walks into the archive here, they first enter our 524 square foot reference room, where we keep 2,000 books and 52 periodical publications. This is a climate-controlled room where the humidity does not go above 50% for mold inhibition. Our periodicals include The Messenger, which is a publication from our province that highlights newsworthy items from 1922 to 1996. We also have the Official Catholic Directory from 1864 to the present time. In our reference library, we have 67 book sections, including friar authors, thesis papers, and inspirational books. Our oldest volumes are in our foreign language section, dating back to the 15th century. Beyond the metal vault door is our 1,064 square foot archival vault. This repository can store up to 1,428 linear feet of archival materials. It is climate controlled to keep the temperature and humidity levels within a specified range. Our archival materials are varied and include over 600 saint relics and over 350 reliquaries, textiles, vestments, artifacts, photographs, paintings, statuary, newspaper clippings, scrapbooks, blueprints, historical cartography, and books. In addition, we house obsolete audiovisual materials, including slides, VHS tapes, beta, vinyl records, floppy disks, CDs, DVDs, cassette tapes, glass plate negatives, ambrotypes, as well as polyester and acetate film reels. Of course, the bulk of our holdings are paper-based archival materials. So how did we get here? I had to work with architects and construction engineers to develop a comprehensive design plan and blueprints for the vault. Here you can see the cover page for these documents. But before any of that started, I had to take into consideration my institution's space requirements and the future development of our archival program. Planning the construction of an archival vault includes consideration of the types of media being stored, the archive's organizational environment, and the types of services the archive will provide. I took an inventory of the current linear feet of the archival materials in our holdings and estimated the linear feet desired for future archival materials. In addition, I had to consider the number of people having access to the vault, which in our case is 3, the archivist, myself, the provincial, my supervisor, and he is the equivalent of a chief executive officer, and the maintenance director. I also had to consider the type of security required for the Capuchin institution, as it is a private archive where the reference room is only accessed by friars or employees. Patrons outside the institution are seen by appointment only. We have varied types of archival media, as I mentioned, that require different temperature and humidity conditions. I determined a climate range that would accommodate these varying formats by researching preservation techniques from well-known sources in the industry, like the Northeast Document Conservation Center and the National Archives and Records Administration. I also researched how other noteworthy repositories accommodate for their multiple format archival materials, like the Archives of Michigan, where I worked for 3 years. In addition, I needed to consider a fire suppression system that would not harm the archival materials being stored in the event of a fire. I knew I wanted a gaseous clean agent system, so I researched many types available in the marketplace. After I established the basic parameters of what I was looking for, I met with architects and construction engineers to see their outline of plans for how they would approach this project and to get their quotes on the work. I met with multiple architectural firms before deciding on one that was in line with our vision. The archival vault would be on the second floor of an existing building, and the building was not in a 100-year floodplain. I then began working with construction engineers on ensuring the floor of the archival vault could accommodate the load capacity required for housing our archival materials and the additional equipment needed to maintain the space. Equipment such as our HVAC unit, fire suppression tank, and generator, all were taken into consideration for this weight limit. We also had to determine if the floor would hold in the event of a fire on the floor beneath the vault. The cement floor was deemed sufficient for our weight capacity and fire requirements. After this, the walls and roof were spec'd to ensure they were fireproof and adequate for our needs. The construction engineers deemed the cinder block walls and metal roof were sufficient, so we moved on to the design phase from there. Heating and air conditioning is of utmost importance for an archival vault. The set temperature and humidity levels should not exceed 5% or 5 degrees outside of the range. The temperature and humidity levels must be maintained within the set parameters 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Having multiple archival formats, I researched the optimum temperature and humidity for each. The optimum humidity for photographs is 35%. Electronic media is also 35%, and paper-based archival materials at 35 to 45%. All other archival items can be kept at a humidity of 35 to 45% according to the National Archives and Records Administration. I decided to keep the humidity levels between 35 and 45% to accommodate these varying archival items. According to NARA Directive 1571, the maximum temperature for storing black and white photographs is 65 degrees. Electronic media is also 65 degrees, and paper-based archival materials, 65 degrees. Hence, I decided to keep the temperature between 60 and 65 degrees. NARA states that air pollutant limits are in place so that gases can be vented out of the room on a regular basis. Gases such as sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, ozone, formaldehyde, and acetic acid are listed in the National Archives and Record Administration's Directive on Archival Environments. I explained to the construction engineers my needs for the temperature and humidity levels. We decided the archival vault needed a dedicated heating and ventilation unit just for the vault itself. This way, we could have a better ability to maintain the set heating and humidity parameters that I have outlined. After looking at many HVAC systems, I chose the Liebert PDX unit because it was more compact than the other units on the market, requiring 36 inches by 36 inches of floor space. It is a compact perimeter heating and cooling system that allows for high efficiency and protection with low capital installation and maintenance costs. The net capacity per footprint is up to 3.6 kilowatts per square foot. This unit is in compliance with the U.S. Department of Energy minimum efficiency standards for data center equipment, which can be quite fragile to maintain as archival materials are. It has a high efficiency fan and a compressor with a hydraulic slab coil that holds the refrigerant in front of the fan to disperse the cooled air into the room. As I mentioned, I specified for the temperature range to stay between 60 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and the humidity level to be between 35 and 45%, according to industry standards for multiple archival formats. The Liebert PDX unit has a touch screen on the side, so I can monitor the temperature and humidity levels at any time. When a level goes out of range by 5% or 5 degrees, An alert is sent automatically to my email and to my phone on text. The Liebert PDX Veritif unit is recommended for laboratories and medical surgical suites, which is what we were seeking for a clean air exchange system in the archival vault. The archival vault is airtight, meaning there is no ventilation except through the HVAC system. Therefore, a controlled number of air exchanges are exhausted out through the ventilation system per hour, and fresh air from the outside is brought in. The mechanical code dictates the number of air exchanges determined by the square footage of an occupied room. This is called the room's envelope, and it means that the airtight room is much like a sealed envelope. The key to this project's interior climate control is the integrity of this envelope against the outside air infiltration and its super insulation characteristics. By creating an absolute seal around the space, control of the inner climate environment for temperature and humidity can be achieved with a smaller HVAC unit. This means less energy, greater stability, and less operating costs. Hence, the HVAC unit is an integral part of this sustainable design. The International Mechanical Code for Air Exchanges by Mechanical Means are outlined in Section 403, which states the amount of supply air should be approximately equal to the amount of return or exhaust air. The system shall not be prohibited from producing negative or positive pressure. The ventilation air should be designed and installed in accordance to this code. The minimum outdoor airflow is determined according to the mechanical code by the room's square footage. The air is not recirculated. This means the interior vault air is exhausted out of the building and fresh outdoor air is vented into the building. This is common in hospitals where air can be contaminated, causing a health hazard. In our case, this air exchange system provides good circulation for mold inhibition on archival materials. Also, no air is stagnant, causing contaminants such as cellulose nitrate gas from nitrate film reels to become exorbitant. The number of air exchanges for an airtight envelope room is outlined in Section 407 of the Mechanical Code. The ventilation system shall be designed to deliver the required rate of outdoor airflow to the breathing zone. The breathing zone is the 9-inch radius around the occupant's nose and mouth. Here is the HVAC plan. You can see the archival vault is on the right. The room immediately to the left is the reference room, and the other space to the left are the other offices on the same floor of this building. The 4 cloud icons depict the dedicated HVAC vents in the archival vault. You can see the reference room HVAC is tied in with the rest of the offices on this floor. In the upper right corner, you can see the air exchange interface for the archival vault. In an archival storage area, fire prevention takes on a whole new level of concern in comparison to standard administrative environments. If the archival materials are lost due to fire or water damage, they are literally gone forever. For this reason, the topic of fire protection has always been an important issue for archivists who are trying to keep their records safe for future generations. When instituting fire protection, most companies look to a standard sprinkler system. A basic sprinkler system is adequate in an administrative office environment. However, a sprinkler system can cause more harm than good to an archives. And this is why. Although a sprinkler system will put out a fire in short order, the water dispersed can cause irreversible water damage to archival materials. Restoring water-damaged archival materials is possible. However, it is costly and a time-consuming process. Securing the vault against fire is an integral part to the long-term preservation of archival materials. A repository should have fire detectors that sound an alarm when a fire is present. The fire detection system should be connected to the local fire department directly, so help can be on the way immediately in the event of a fire. Heat detectors operate on the basis of a fixed temperature range, which is the ideal for a vault because the HVAC unit is keeping the room within a specified range to begin with. According to the NARA Directive 1571, the smoke detection system should provide 99% reliability of detecting the origin of a fire in less than 5 minutes. A lightning rod or lightning conductor is standard on office buildings and should be a part of an archival vault as well. Our building already was equipped with this before we started on the construction of this archival vault. Fire suppression systems should always be maintained under contract with a company that comes out periodically to check the system to be sure it is in good working order. To avoid problems with a water sprinkler system, I chose a gaseous clean agent system that is preferable to ensure paper-based archival materials would stay intact in the event of a fire. So instead of water sprinklers at the ceiling, a gaseous clean agent system has pipes and diffusers that have a proprietary gas within them. In the event of a fire, this gas is dispersed in the room without leaving a residue. I chose the Novec 1230 fire suppression system that uses a fluorinated ketone for the fire suppressing agent. This is our fire suppression system drawing covering for the archival vault. The Novec 1230 extinguishes fires by removing heat. All fires need heat, oxygen, and a fuel source to continue to burn. By removing any of these 3 elements, a fire will go out. Other fire suppression agents, such as carbon dioxide, remove oxygen, like the formerly popular for archives halon system. The Novec 1230 is different in that it removes the heat instead of oxygen from the fire, thereby making it safer for people working in the vault. There is no suffocation risk with the Novec, which was a problem with the halon system. The compound used is an ethyl isopropyl fluorinated ketone, which is a fully fluorinated analog of ethyl isopropyl ketone. This is a non-toxic inert gas. It is actually stored in a tank as a liquid and discharges as a gas when the system activates. After the fluorinated ketone puts out the fire, the chemical evaporates immediately. You do not have to clean it up because it leaves no residue on surfaces. It is deemed safe for equipment like sensitive electronics. This was an important feature to me because I could ensure the archival materials would be safe from fire and from the fire suppression system. This system can reach extinguishing concentration levels in 10 seconds. This stops a fire before it gets to the heat flame stage. In addition, this type of system is safe for the ozone, not containing anything to reduce the ozone layer with no atmospheric lifetime. This system is more expensive than a typical water sprinkler system. However, when you take into consideration the value of the archival materials that are irreplaceable and the safety of your archivists from potential suffocation from other gaseous fire suppression agents, the decision to go with the fluorinated ketone is worth the money. The walls and ceiling must be insulated to help maintain the interior temperature and humidity. Insulation reduces the flow of heat or cold into the room from outside sources, whether they be outside air or the internal office space next door. We insulated our walls and ceiling with blown-in blanket fiberglass insulation. Walls and ceilings can be rated for their R value. This is a building industry term for thermal resistance per unit area. It measures how well a barrier like a ceiling or a wall resists the conductive flow of heat or cold. Specifically, it is the temperature difference per unit of heat flux needed to sustain 1 unit of heat flux between the warmer surface and the colder surface of a barrier under steady state conditions. The higher the R value, the better it is for keeping your air at the preferred temperature. Hence, R values are used in describing the effectiveness of a barrier, such as a ceiling or a wall. Heat flow through a barrier is driven by temperature difference between the two sides of a barrier, and the R value quantifies how effectively the object resists this drive. The temperature difference divided by the R value and then multiplied by the exposed surface area of the barrier gives the total rate of heat flow through the barrier. We combined fiberglass insulation with 5/8" drywall for an effective barrier from heat and cold. The insulation rating, or R value, for our walls and ceiling is R40, making it easier to maintain the room's temperature and humidity. The interior wall has a blanket fiberglass insulation and double 5/8" drywall on both sides of the wall. This very thick wall also keeps out fire as well as temperature. It is fire rated for 3 hours of a hot fire. The ceiling has 8 inches of blown-in fiberglass insulation and a 5/8" drywall with a metal roof beyond that. Sufficient insulation means the HVAC unit does not have to work as hard to keep the room at the set temperature, making it more cost-effective. Additionally, if there is a power outage and the backup generator fails, the vault could still maintain its temperature for 2 days or longer, depending on the time of year. So with the insulation and the double drywall on either side of the interior wall, and the interior wall is 8 inches thick, this may be quite unusual for an office environment, but it serves us well for the security of the vault. Usually, interior walls only go up as high as the tray ceiling in a room. This would not be adequate for security, as essentially someone could just get a ladder and go through the ceiling in the reference room to enter the vault and bypass the door altogether. Because of this, our interior wall extends to the roof line of the building, making it impenetrable. There were originally 4 windows in our archival vault. These were blocked out from the inside with 6 inches of insulation and 5/8" drywall. In addition, a vapor barrier was put onto the windows before the insulation and the drywall. This plastic film provides a moisture barrier from the outside humidity. This way, the vault does not take away from the exterior design of the building, since the original windows are still visible from the outside. The 3 exterior walls are constructed of cinder block. Auxiliary heating panels were installed on the exterior walls to provide an extra heat source for when the outside temperature is sub-zero. The ceiling, including the insulation and drywall, is 9 inches thick. There are metal rafters and a metal roof beyond this. The walls and ceiling were painted with a water-based latex paint. The pre-existing floor tiles were left in place and covered with a coat of polyurethane, providing a smooth floor surface for maneuvering archival book trucks. There is no plumbing above or adjacent to the archival vault. Lighting for an archival vault is different from a regular office environment in that you need to take into consideration the amount of ultraviolet or UV light that may harm archival items. Ultraviolet light radiation is light that has a wavelength beyond the visible portion of violet in the light spectrum. Sunlight is our best source of UV light. However, although sunlight is good for us in many ways, the radiation from it can have damaging effects on archival items like paper, textiles, and audiovisual items. Although fading is an issue with UV radiation, there also could be damage to the physical and chemical structure of materials as the UV produces energy to fuel the chemical reactions that lead to deterioration. It is for this reason that light-emitting diodes, or LEDs, are recommended for archival vaults because they do not emit UV radiation at all. According to the Northeast Documentation Conservation Center, LEDs are semiconductor devices, materials with electrical conductivity that can emit a specific spectrum of light depending on the semiconductor material used. LEDs do not emit UV or IR radiation, and the light does not generate heat, although the conductor box does. They can supply light for a lower energy cost and have a longer lifespan than other light sources. LED lighting was installed for cost efficiency and because it is safe for archival materials by not emitting this ultraviolet radiation. Visible light can still be a problem as complete darkness is optimal for archival items. It is for this reason that the National Archives and Record Administration Directive 1571 states the requirements for lighting in a record storage area must not exceed 50 lux, measured 36 inches above the floor level. It also mentions that lights should be turned off when people are done working in the vault for the day. Our archival vault meets these light requirements put forth by NARA. The vault door is an important part of the security and safety of the archival materials. As well as providing security, it helps reduce the spread of fire and smoke to allow for safe exit during a fire. Fire doors are tested and certified to industry standards. The fire rating can be from 20 minutes to 3 hours of a hot fire. A hot fire is defined by a fire that is above 800 degrees Fahrenheit. This certification means that the door and frame have been formally tested by an accredited third party and is said to meet or exceed the standard criteria. For certification to be considered valid, the doors and frames must be installed according to National Fire Protection Association Directive number 80, which is the standard for fire doors and other opening protectives. It is important to remember that the door frame must also be fire rated. Not just the door and the wall, but the frame is vitally important to ensure protection from heat and fire. Our door frame is rated to withstand 3 hours of a hot fire. The International Building Code limits the size of fire protection rated glass, such as safety wired glass, used in fire rated doors. 3-hour doors are not permitted to have glass of any type. Fire resistant glass is 1 1/2 inch thick, consisting of multiple layers of glass with an enchantment gel interlayer. The fire protection glass window in our vault door is fire rated to withstand 90 minutes of a hot fire. This security window has a wire mesh in it to mitigate any potential break-ins as well. The door is closed and locked at all times, whether the archivist is in the vault or in the reference room working. Electronic key fob access with backup key provides the security for locking the vault door. These electronic fobs have a passive radio frequency identification, or RFID, tag in them that identifies who is opening the door and at what time the access took place. There is an RFID pad on the wall next to the vault door entry. When an authorized key fob is swiped on the pad, the door will unlock, thereby allowing the person entry into the vault. Upon leaving the vault, the door is always unlocked from the inside, making exit effortless. You don't need a key fob or a key to get out. Just turn the handle and it opens. This system provides easy access to the always secured vault. I keep the key fob with my other keys on me at all times using a retractable badge clip at my waist. Now, you might be thinking, with all this talk about potential fire, what about egress? The National Fire Protection Association's fire code for a room with one exit must have less than 50 occupants of the room, and the distance a person must travel to get to the egress must be less than 75 feet. Also, in an automatic sprinklered room, the egress requirements are even fewer. The dimensions of our archival vault are well within these parameters. According to Fire Code Section 450, an archival vault door must swing out of the vault, not into the vault, to provide easy means of egress. Our door swings out of the vault, so it is within these guidelines. Our vault passed the fire code when inspected by the Detroit Fire Marshal in 2020. Shelving must be made of heavy material able to withstand large loads for decades. For this reason, heavy gauge steel is the archival standard for vault shelving. This will ensure the shelves will not bow over time and therefore keep the archival materials intact and not damaged. There should be no sharp corners or rough edges that can damage boxes or their contents. Shelving should have a smooth finish so the boxes can easily slide on and off each shelf. Our metal shelving bays are made of 20 gauge steel with rounded edges, so boxes do not snag when pulling them off. The finish on shelving can be baked on enamel, thoroughly cured, or dry application powder finish. The dry powder coat finish is preferred as it is an inert gas and odorless. The process electrostatically charges dry pigments in a powdered polymer and applying the powder to electrically grounded metal. The shelving is then heated to melt the powder coating. There are no organic solvents used or other unstable components that could potentially interact with archival materials. Our metal shelves have this powder coat finish. The freestanding shelving bays are bolted together for increased stability. There are 7 bays bolted together per row. There are 6 shelves per bay. We have 60 shelving bays. Each shelf size is 42 inches by 15 inches to accommodate 3 standard archival size boxes per shelf. Our oversized shelving units are 36 inches by 48 inches in size and have 5 shelves per bay. We have 4 oversized shelving bays. These also have the same powder coat finish as the standard shelving units. Aisles must be large enough to accommodate an archival book truck, and the oversized boxes need extra aisle space to maneuver these boxes in and out. The aisle width is 35 inches between the stacks and 45 inches in the oversized area. No shelves are placed against exterior walls due to the risk of moisture or exterior leaks. The shelving is positioned parallel to the direction of airflow in the room to allow good circulation in and around the stacks. There are no back panels to the shelving for good air circulation as well. The very top shelf of each bay is not used, and there is 2 feet of space between the top shelf and the ceiling for sufficient air circulation. All the shelves in the vault have a unique number. Each box on each shelf has this shelf location that I entered into the Axial archival software. All boxes are organized by record group number, box number, and its shelf number. We have 2 heavy-duty metal blueprint and map cabinets that have 10 drawers per unit. Each drawer has 2 inches of space for cartography folders and materials. The drawers move easily on ball-bearing rollers. There are flexible dust covers in front of each drawer that locks into position to keep dust from getting into the blueprints. Our 10 lateral filing cabinets have 5 drawers each and are made of heavy metal with a powder finish. As a side note, we have a pest control company come in once per month to spray for bugs. I have never seen any bugs or rodents in the vault, but we keep this maintenance as a preventative measure. The Capuchin Province of St. Joseph Archives preserves over 165 years of historical materials for the work of the Capuchins provide in this part of the United States. We are the repository for the Blessed Solanus Casey Center and the Midwest Capuchins. This is a private repository. Patrons can visit by appointment only. This presentation is dedicated in memory to Jose Soberal, who was our maintenance director during this archival renovation. You are welcome to contact me anytime at the information provided. Thank you for having me at the Society of American Archivists Religious Archives section, Lunch and Learn. It has been an honor for me to be here with you.
Well, thank you, Junia, so much. That was very informative. It looks like we do have one question in the Q&A. Sophia asked if you could share some information on the project budget.
Oh, yes. Well, we had donors give us money to facilitate this project, and they do want to keep it rather quiet and proprietary because they were donors and that was their wish. So unfortunately, I can't answer the question.
Okay, and it looks like we just have some comments that it was an amazing presentation and people are thanking you. I was wondering, kind of a follow-up, not necessarily about the specific budget, but if you guys, if everything was private donors, you weren't going through a capital campaign or anything specific like that.
No, it was private. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, that's really great. So had you already kind of, I'm wondering if the budget came first and then you were able to kind of build out based on the money that you had, or did you already have kind of an idea in mind of what, you know, the specifics of, like you said, the HVAC system and your, you know, what kind of doors and fire suppression? Was that was all based on what money you had to work with?
Yeah, we had the money budgeted before we decided to start on the project. And so we knew we had sufficient funding to do it in this way, to do it the way we wanted, to do it right, up to archival standards.
Okay, so a question, I know when you were discussing that you guys are on the second floor, is that correct?
Yes, that is.
So someone asked if there is, and I guess an office or anything is there a floor above you? Does that cause any problems?
No, there's no floor above me. It's a 2-floor building. So above the vault ceiling is a 9-inch of insulation and drywall. And then beyond that, there are metal rafters and a metal roof.
Someone is asking specifically about the HVAC system. They said, have you received many alerts stating that you have gone over range during the various seasons, or have things worked to spec so far?
They have worked to spec pretty well. We did have a time when we had a very bad flooding last summer. And at that time, the power was out. And so our generator had to, come into operation and work. And during that time, it did go out of range a little bit here and there, but it wasn't too much. And actually, it's worked very well.
Okay. Another question was, how did you determine how much space you would need for the vault?
What I did was I took into consideration everything that we had in the vault currently, which I guess you would call it a vault. It was just more of a room. So I took into consideration what we had currently. And then I just thought, I discussed it, with my supervisor and that kind of thing, and to try to determine how much more archival items we would be receiving, over the next few years, the next couple of decades. And so that's how we determined it.
Kind of a follow-up question was, were there certain materials considered priority space over others? So like, did you determine we're going to do more shelving for boxes versus, hanging racks or, other types of storage options?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the priority was to definitely have shelving, metal shelving for standard archival boxes. That's what we really needed more than anything. And also we needed oversized shelving. So that was important too. Yeah.
Okay, someone said that they've never heard of fluorinated ketones for fire suppression. Is there regular maintenance that is required, like recharging the system or testing?
Yes, there is. They come out periodically twice a year and they do check it. Yes. Yeah.
Is the electrical and generator dedicated to the archive, or is it for the whole building?
It is dedicated just for the vault. And so like my office in the reference room, the archival library is separate and it's with the regular office building itself, but the vault itself has a dedicated system.
I was wondering, since you are kind of overseeing a wide geography, is this the central repository for your whole jurisdiction?
It is, yes.
So
Yeah.
every individual location sent all their material to you?
Yes, they do. And they still do. Yeah.
And then if they have a specific research request, then you go through and you scan, or does someone, make facsimiles?
Yeah, absolutely. I do it. I scan all kinds of different items, for reference requests all the time.
Neat. Let's see if we had any more building specific questions. I think that's all the ones we had. Let's see if I had written anything else down. No. Are there any other questions that anybody had? They want to put them in the Q&A? As far as collection policy, are the different archive or is there still material actively being generated? Like, do you guys do records management, or is it mainly archival materials?
It's mainly archival materials, but there are always things being accrued and added to different various collections. It's just part of it. Yeah. All the time.
Let's see. Oh, I think we got another one. Why go with metal shelving and not collapsible shelving?
Oh yeah, we did think about the collapsible shelving, but for our needs, we already had some of this metal shelving, and then our donor worked with us on it, and so we actually got it was we got a good deal on this particular shelving, so that's why we went with it. Yeah. Okay. And honestly, they donated it to us. The shelving was given to us. So.
We have a question, or how long was the construction or the retrofitting of this building? How long did it take?
That's a good question. So it started on March 10th of 2020. I bet everyone remembers what was going on then. So I was planning to work from home for 6 weeks or so. And oh, my stars. Of course, we in Michigan, we ended up being in lockdown, and this project took many months, but it was because of COVID and the pandemic. And so it took a whole lot longer than it was supposed to take. So I probably can't answer that question accurately.
I guess follow up to that is, are you allowing on-site researchers?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Is that COVID related or just,
Yeah.
staffing?
Still
COVID?
COVID related. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I haven't had anyone wanting to come in either. I mean, I do have, friars and employees of the province, they come in. It's always available for them to come. It's an open resource, but for outside secular patrons, I haven't had any yet.
And have you, I guess within Detroit, are you part of like a local archives organization, or do you have a community of archivists that you're kind of joining in with?
Well, I do belong. Yeah, there is a Detroit Archives group that I do belong to. So I do, talk with them a lot. And, the archives at the Archdiocese, I'm, in touch with them quite often. But I also belong to the Capuchin Archives for the worldwide. And so I go and meet with them for a conference once a year, and that's in Rome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. It seems that people are thanking you for a very informative presentation.
So nice. I'm so happy to have been here.
Yeah, well, we certainly appreciate you coming and sharing. I think when we think about building out or expanding, it can feel really overwhelming. And to just, have, you kind of going step by step with each, factor that you have to take into account. I think that has been really helpful to kind of have it all laid out.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. Yeah, there really is. Yeah,
Definitely.
It's worth all the effort, though. I'll say it was worth everything. Yeah.
Were you familiar with design and construction before this, or this was a big research project for you?
Well, I had researched it. I was relatively familiar with construction. I've never had a hands-on experience, so I was very glad to get this opportunity.
Did you act as sort of the project manager, or did you have like a construction lead person that was working with you on it?
I was the lead person. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I feel like you could go on and do some home improvement at this point.
Well, they did. I outlined what needed to be done, and they did, the actual work. So, yeah, it was funny though. I mean, during COVID, it was crazy because I couldn't come in. And so they, because we were in lockdown, so they would have to send me photographs and text me pictures of what they were doing and send me questions that way. And then I would have to look and see and ask more questions. They would send me more pictures, and I would answer their questions and how I need it done, how we need to do it. But I couldn't come on site because they weren't allowing regular people to come to work. It was only construction people could come to work for a while. And so it was a very crazy time.
Like a virtual specialist.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, we're going to go ahead and I think say goodbye.
Okay.
Bye to what?
I have some helpers here.
You do. Well, it was such a pleasure to meet all of you virtually, and hopefully I can see everyone in person at the SAA because I'm going to Boston. So I hope I can see a lot of people there.
Yeah, thank you, Junia. And we have some more lunch and learns and other talks coming up. And so everyone should check the SAA Models and Resource Committee's webpage and find out about the other talks and luncheons coming up. So thanks so much for participating and being a part of this.
All right. Thank you so much.